India's image as the pharmacy of the world took a hit in 2023. Cough syrups made in India were linked to the deaths of children in Gambia and Uzbekistan. The government moved to tighten regulations and enhance drug standards. Pharma companies may soon have to appoint a point person to communicate with regulators, and this person will then be held accountable for day-to-day affairs. Ekta Batra joins us now with more on the year that was for Indian pharma.
2023 was a year where the Indian government tested the most amount of drug samples for substandard drugs and launched the maximum amount of prosecutions for manufacturing, sale and distribution of spurious or adulterated drugs in the past 3 years. The clampdown from the government was in response to the issues with poor quality drugs, which first gained prominence in October of 2022 when Marion Pharma's cough syrups were linked to the deaths of 70 children in Gambia, followed by Marion Biotech's cough syrups causing 19 deaths in Uzbekistan within 3 months. Throughout 2023, instances of substandard drugs from Indian manufacturers persisted. Notably, the World Health Organization raised concerns about QP Pharma Chem's contaminated cough syrups in the Marshall Islands and Micronesia. Additionally, Nigeria's regulatory authority flagged Syncare, and the WHO issued an alert regarding a batch of cough syrup cooled out from Fort's labs identified in Iraq. A common denominator in these incidents was the presence of unacceptable levels of toxic substances, specifically diethylene glycol and ethylene glycol. However, the problem extended beyond contamination by DEG and EG, with cases of substandard drugs, including eye drops, surfacing in Sri Lanka and the US. Serious allegations were made against companies like Indiana Ophthalmics and Global Pharma. Indiana Ophthalmics steroid eye drops were accused of causing severe eye damage in Sri Lanka, and Global Pharma faced allegations of contamination in their eye drops and ointments for dry eyes in the US, linked to over 50 adverse events, including vision loss and 1 death. In response to these challenges, the Indian government intensified efforts to ensure better drug quality and safeguard the country's reputation as the pharmacy of the world. Measures included investigations, license suspensions for implicated companies as well, and more rigorous and random quality checks for pharmaceutical manufacturers. A significant crackdown revealed over 50 companies manufacturing substandard cough syrups in a substantial move. State and central drug regulators inspected 76 pharma companies nationwide, and the Drug Controller General, in collaboration with the government, revoked licenses of 18 pharmaceutical companies accused of producing substandard drugs. 2023 saw 3.2% of drug samples tested not of standard quality, in line with the previous 3 years, but at 14.4% had the highest number of samples declared spurious or adulterated. The probe saw 262 people arrested on account of it. Lastly, recognizing the need to address drug quality for international exports, the government directed state drug regulators to analyze cough syrups intended for export. The Directorate General of Foreign Trade mandated the testing of cough syrup samples and the production of a certificate of analysis before export, aiming to assure the quality of pharmaceutical products leaving the country.
Ekta, many thanks for joining us. In fact, 2024 will see a lot of these new measures that the Indian government is hoping to roll out come into effect. Now, shifting focus to India's trade ties with the world, the government has been taking steps to sign free trade agreements with its trading partners. Now, India has managed to seal deals with Australia and the United Arab Emirates, while talks with the UK, the European Union and Canada have not reached any conclusion yet. Abhimanyu Sharma gets us a roundup of the trade talks in 2023.
India started 2023 buoyed by 2 mega trade deals with Australia and the UAE that were signed in 2022. It seemed that India had shrugged off its reluctance to trade agreements and was ready to sign new age FTAs. But as 2023 draws to a close, critical negotiations with UK, EU and Canada are yet to be concluded. The FTA talks with UK have been delayed by almost 12 months since the original deadline. Negotiations have spilled over to next year, with the 14th round slotted for January 2024. Both India and UK continue to grapple with complex issues around goods, services and investments. The negotiators are yet to come to an agreement on tariffs on wines and Scotch whisky.
The defining terms we put for the deal is it should be fair, equitable, and it should work both ways. We offered from the current 150%, it can be brought down to 100% now. and over time to 50%, which is the kind of difference in the cost of production between the two countries. And we also said that there should be a mechanism, a minimum import price, which means that the practice of under-invoicing could be stopped. For the equal opportunities, both sides, we have asked for the removal of the maturation condition, which as per the UK laws, for a product to be called whiskey, it has to be matured for 3 years.
Differences remain over tariffs on alcohol, rules of origin and duty concessions for EVs. While India's External Affairs Minister is hopeful of a mutually beneficial landing point, both nations are clear that any deal has to be in national interest.
Agri-products, wines, all the agri-processed items, those are sensitive for us, and they are again areas of ambition for both EU and UK. And we'll have to find a way forward that balances our sensitivity with their interests.
India-EU trade talks restarted in 2022 after 9 years of talks, collapsed in 2013 due to differences on customs duties on automobiles, alcohol products and movement of professionals. While there is a strong political intent this time to have an FTA, the European Union has concerns over investment protection and India is concerned about EU's carbon border adjustment mechanism or carbon tax.
Carbon taxes they are proposing to implement, that will be a big issue. We can't have a situation where we sign a trade agreement and then all that gets undone by a 20-25% border tax. The best FTA is between countries which share complementarities, where one country's sensitivities are not areas of ambition for the other country. If you can sign a FTA with Africa, that can be a huge area for mutual benefit and growth.
India-Canada trade talks, which resumed after almost a decade, have been halted after the Canadian government accused India of involvement in the murder of Khalistani separatist Hardeep Singh Nijjar. Trade talks are never easy, and finally, India's leadership will have to take a political call to cross any hurdles with EU and the UK, and any trade deal with Canada looks highly unlikely in the near future. As these complicated talks continue, India is also looking at Latin America to deepen trade ties. But with the BJP getting into election mode next year, it is possible that any trade deal may be postponed till after the general election. In New Delhi, Abhimanyu Sharma.
Well, that's the trade landscape. The FTA is done and the FTA is pending. Hopefully 2024 will see momentum, at least on the FTA that we intend to ink with the UK. With that, it is time for us to wrap up this special broadcast of Rewind 2023, where we bring you the big milestones achieved in the year that was, and more importantly, what to look out for in 2024.